Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I hope you guys are having another awesome day. It's Rick coming back at you, and I want to teach you a cheat code, if you will, that if you can understand this and have foresight, that's the most important part, foresight, you will be able to take advantage of economic downturns and ultimately turn those into your greatest benefit and help you hit those financial goals that you have. And there's a couple of different stories I want to share with you that's going to help kind of solidify this idea and help show you why what I'm about to tell you is 100% true. The first one is from Aristotle Onassis. So Aristotle Onassis, he was one of the most wealthy people back at the turn of the century in the 1900s. And during the war, I believe it was the First World War, shipping had ceased completely because there was international war going on. So obviously shipping things from one country to another, it was very unsafe. Shipping companies pretty much stopped importing and exporting goods because these countries were at war, but also it was unsafe to ship these products. So what ended up happening is all of these ships basically stopped shipping things back and forth. And so there was a lot of unused ships in these ports. And basically shipping, there was no money in shipping at all at that time because there was no sort of profits to be made. And Aristotle Onassis thought to himself, well, if we think about this from a standpoint of what's going to happen after the war, we can see that no matter what happens, these countries are going to get back to the level of shipping that they were at before. And actually, it'll probably increase too, because we have soldiers going to different countries who are now being introduced to new goods and products that they're going to want here. So he just thought about this and he said to himself, if we have all these ships that are being unused right now, wouldn't it be wise for us to buy these ships, wait for this war to end, and then when shipping picks back up, we'll have all of the ships basically to satisfy the needs of the planet itself. And that's actually what ended up happening. He ended up buying a lot of ships. Shipping then picked up after the war, and it was actually World War II now that I think about it. And after World War II, when shipping started to pick up, they could only use his company because a lot of the other shipping companies had just completely left and just went bankrupt because obviously there was no shipping at the time of the war. And that made him one of the richest people on the planet because he saw something not for what it was, but how it will be once this economic crisis was completely over. So that's one example of how you can take advantage of an economic crisis. The second one is just recently with the COVID pandemic. So with the current pandemic, what ended up happening was we saw travel pretty much shut down. So you saw airlines shut down, you saw cruise companies shut down, but also oil companies. They were taking a hit financially too because obviously a lot of those companies that had shut down for travel, they weren't using any fuel anymore. So they weren't needing as much oil as they used to. So what ended up happening at that time was the stock prices of these companies actually plummeted. They went down, I believe, if I remember correctly, it was about 60 or 70% in a matter of a couple months. Now, any logical person would tell themselves, okay, well, this pandemic isn't going to last forever. And eventually people are going to start traveling again. They're going to start using cruise ships again, and they're going to want to see different parts of the globe again. So wouldn't it make sense that these stock prices go back to what they were before, which is actually what ended up happening. So if you look at the stock prices back in the early 2020s, around March of 2020, April 2020, the stock prices of companies like Boeing and Carnival Cruise Line and Apache Oil, companies like that, these stock prices absolutely plummeted. And if you were wise enough to get invested into these companies during this downturn on the economic basically stall that we saw, if you got invested at that time, what you would have seen now is huge profits because, again, these stocks jumped way up to where they were previously back in early 2020. So what you want to understand is during times of economic hardship, that is the time when there's the most millionaires created, because they understand that this is only a short period of time that these companies are going to be suffering. This isn't going to be a forever type deal. So what rich people will do is at the time of downturn in the economy, they'll buy more. Where everybody else is selling off their stocks, rich people are buying more because they understand, okay, this has to go back up to where it was before, so I'm going to take advantage of this. And then what ends up happening is when it does go back to where it was before, they get exponentially richer. So keep that in mind, that when there's economic downturn, no matter what the cause of it may be, there's huge opportunity for you to hit your financial goals and ultimately set yourself apart from average to extraordinary for how much money you're bringing in income-wise. So I hope that this video helped you guys. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, definitely do so. Button's right there. Other than that, you guys have a great rest of your day.